today we're going to talk about the shadow as a psychological concept and as a symbol and archetype in cinema. We'll be covering 3 films that I think have a good allegory of what it looks like to integrate with the shadow, to have a relationship with that, and we'll discuss what that actually means and looks like. And then also there's a story in there about what it looks like to not integrate with the shadow self. And those 3 films are The Substance, Mickey 17, and Thunderbolts.
That's right.
So I would like to ask you, Katie, as a therapist, what does shadow mean to you? What do you think of? How is it important in the work you do? Is it important?
Absolutely. So I think one thing that's important to consider when we're thinking about shadow is like, what is shadow? So shadow is kind of a psychological construct that kind of butts up against the ego. We're going to talk a couple different terms so we can put it together and see what shadow is. So ego is really that psychological piece that says, okay, who am I? Who am I supposed to be? What do I want? And it balances all of the pressures of the world, all the ways in which we have like these kind of innate animal desires and what's okay to do out in society, what's okay so that we can maintain relationship and operate. So the shadow is responsible for constructing what we call a persona. And that's what the world gets to see. That's the mask, the social mask. Who are we to the world? Those are all the things that we want to be. And the shadow, infamously, is all that we don't want to be. So on the other side, we have this shadow. Sometimes it embodies more negative qualities, you might say, like shame or defensiveness, a lust for power. Sexuality often is in people's shadows, particularly in our culture. But it also can contain not so negative, but more positive traits, but that we've learned aren't acceptable, right? Things like spontaneity, things like sexuality, things that, there's just so much energy there that we could tap into, but it's been pushed out of consciousness. We don't want to be it, and we don't think we are.
It's my understanding that it is having a relationship and integration with those 2 parts, the conscious part where we are interfacing with the world, and the shadow, the things that we have suppressed due to social expectations or conditioning, nurturing, can help us become whole.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We find that this is a task that most often happens for people in midlife, because the development of shadow is important for development in our early years. We have to suppress parts of our personality in order to do well in school, in order to be accepted by our parents, in order to be cared for, in order to build social relationship, and in order to build a persona, a sense of self. Usually then when we come to midlife, that persona, those things in which we've strived for and we've achieved, they start to lose the luster, and we realize there's something more. And that's often when this shadow energy comes knocking, and when integration becomes the task. All the things that we stuffed below, now we need to excavate and discover for ourselves and be able to be whole and be more authentic. And so we find that happens naturally, or the urge for that to happen happens naturally in midlife, in the 30s and 40s, 50s even, typically.
One of my favorite stories, and this just came to mind as you're talking about development and where it usually occurs for a person, it being midlife, is Nietzsche's story of the camel, the lion, and the child. Have you heard of this?
I haven't heard the story.
Okay.
Tell me.
So I think it's in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, one of his books. The first metamorphosis is that we are the camel. So we are carrying the load of social expectations. We're being domesticated by our parents, by society, by school, right? Just the system.
Peers,
yes. And we're holding up all of those expectations during those years to kind of survive in the world. And then around adulthood, and maybe even beginning in adolescence, you start to kind of question the order of things. And you go into the line metamorphosis. And this is the symbol of rebellion and of like just fierce energy of rebelling against all of the constructs that have been put on you. So that could look like a deconstruction of faith.
Yes.
That can just look like leaving home,
Yes.
right? And that leads us to the last stage, which is the child, which is returning to a sense of play without abandoning your social responsibilities. But now it's on your terms, and you have the wisdom and discernment to decide what is actually good and wrong.
Right.
I love the child because it's the idea of approaching integration and wholeness with a sense of play and experimental energy.
And wonder.
And wonder.
Yeah.
And wonder. I love that word wonder. So glad you said that, because Joseph Campbell says to get there, to get to that place of wholeness, follow your bliss. It takes you out of the loop of domesticity.
Right.
Into the realm of like just the higher self.
And from a psychological perspective, you have enough ego strength, enough sense of who you are that you can choose to indulge or to pursue things without the fear that they will engulf you then, right? There's enough substance there in your psyche to withhold drawing outside the lines again. Yeah.
Yeah, and less of a risk as well of being kicked out of the group.
Right.
Because you've probably know at that point who your real friends are, who your ride and dies are, who's going to be there for you. If you were to choose to be your full authentic self.
Totally.
Okay.
Totally.
This brings us to our first movie, Thunderbolts.
Yes.
We're starting with Thunderbolts because the antagonist is literally a shadow. So, I mean, it's the best allegory. It's like, I mean, how more clear could we get about the symbol? It's with Florence Pugh, who plays Yelena, and Louis Pullman, who plays Bob and Dark Bob when he's a shadow self. It's directed by Jake Schreier, who also is known for Beef and Robot and Frank. I want to start with the scene where Yelena walks into his shadow at the end. Oh, spoiler alerts. There will be many spoilers. Skip ahead or, maybe watch the films before going into these discussions. Unless if you just don't care, then enjoy listening to all the spoilers. So Yelena walks into his shadow. This is after he has completely disassociated himself from his like regular Bob conscious self to Dark Bob shadow, who is consuming the city, absorbing people into his shadow. And our Thunderbolts are completely like lost, not sure what to do. Yelena has the idea to walk into his shadow. And I find this really powerful symbol because she goes into some memories from her past, but her goal is to get to Bob's situation, see where he's at, and try to pull him out of this state of disconnection and bring him back.
Right.
And that all happens in a house with rooms. And so one thing we love to talk about is symbols in dreams and archetypes that reflect collective ideas about just universal truths.
Yes.
And so we are big fans of Jung, also known as Jung.
So many ways.
Many ways. The psychoanalyst. And so the house, my understanding, is a symbol of the psyche. It's a different department. So you have like an attic would symbolize your higher self, and then you have your conscious self maybe in the main floors, and then your subconscious would be or your unconscious would be in a basement somewhere.
Yes.
So I found it really interesting that she finds Bob in an attic, which he's turned into his room, which he says is the nicest room he's found. And so if we take that to literally mean his higher self, this is also the place where transformation can happen there. So it's really beautiful that they meet there. And what he's looking at below is a memory of domestic violence that he grew up in. that's occurring below when they peek down there and they see the the chaos that he was raised in, essentially. So I'm going to take that to mean the unconscious self as well, the part that's kind of stuffed down. And it's also occurring in a kitchen. And I love that because kitchen is a symbol of nourishment, where we should get our nourishment. And so here we could see in his childhood, he didn't have the place where he should have been nourished at home. He was not given that through his parents. That wasn't a source, which is like the foundation of kind of being a healthy person, adult, right? Finding self-worth and love.
Right. That physical reality of his home became this psychic reality that we see him enter in that scene.
Yes.
Where there isn't safety, that there is violence where there should be nourishment, or where there could have been.
Yeah.
And that's his reality.
Right.
That's his psychic home.
Yes. Yes. It's so powerful. It's so good. And it paints such a perfect picture of what we're talking about here when it comes to the shadow. What does it mean? What does it look like? And why we love to look at films, storytelling, cinema. I even look at video games, and I mean, everything that can tell a story, is because myths and symbols speak to us in a way that is maybe more subtle, and I would even say the word compassionate. Compassionate comes to mind. It's just more gentle than a direct, approach of like, your shadow is this and whatnot. But you can see a film and have this idea, oh, there's parts of me.
Yes, you can identify with it.
Yeah.
It gets the gears turning.
And it does the work in the unconscious, which you don't have an awareness of.
Right.
It goes there.
Right.
Symbols go there for us. Yes.
One thing that I loved about that scene when Yelena stepped into his shadow is we often, I think, in our culture, think about shadow work as something that we do individually, like with your journal, with your therapist.
Yeah.
And what I found so powerful about that scene is that Yelena risked being able to face her own shadow so that she could be in the presence, like fully in Bob's shadow.
Yes.
And that we know is so healing, that relational healing, especially when we have the context of a lot of his hurt, his relational hurt, rewind to the domestic violence happening in the kitchen, right? And that being his psychic home.
Right.
And so now he has someone who can come and witness compassionately and with wide open eyes and not reject this part of him, actually walk right into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which kind of opens this door for healing, integration, which we'll talk about soon. Yeah.
And when we learn how to go into the vulnerable parts of ourselves, then we can better connect with others as well. That brings me to the next scene, which is the medical study scene where he was experimented on. The shadow is kind of there waiting for him. He's regular Bob is seeing dark Bob being experimented on. At one point, our shadow Bob looks at himself and says, "The most shameful thing of all was thinking you could be anything more than nothing." So let's talk about how scary the shadow is, like at a glance. Because we know that I think at this point in our personal journeys, the shadow is kind of a really fun place to go to. Now, I would say it's fair to say
at least the parts of it that we are aware of, that we found some courage.
Fair enough.
To approach. To approach. Agreed.
Yeah, fair enough. Why I think this is so interesting is because it usually is, for me, when I think about what areas am I suppressing, it is often the place where I'm even ashamed to think of myself at all, to allow opportunity for happiness or joy or space in the world. So I just love that line. The most shameful thing of all was thinking you could be anything more than nothing. Yes. And kind of following that voice sometimes through journaling, if that's your thing. Just having just kind of this, like you were talking about, this kind of, that Yelena offers this non-judgmental, observant kind of approach to just seeing like, what don't I allow myself to do?
Right.
Why don't I, and also we'll talk about this later too, when we look at tools that help us excavate the unconscious shadow, also looking at like people who trigger you, they got it off.
Like really get under your skin.
Yeah.
Yes.
How dare them pursue their dreams?
Right.
How ridiculous they are.
How selfish.
How selfish. They're changing their careers at this age. What? They're pursuing acting. How irresponsible.
How childish.
How childish of them.
Yes.
Those triggers usually give us a little bit of a because what it's the message we're saying is that's all internalized.
Absolutely.
Whatever we're projecting onto them, we're saying it to ourselves, which is, I could never do that. That would be so selfish of me.
And if I did, the shame that you speak of would just wash right over me.
That's right. How dare I think anything more of myself than nothing? Absolutely. And then this is when it's Yelena's compassion and gentleness is the only thing that works. So I'm jumping ahead. I missed a beat there. But after he says that, Bob starts to beat his shadow. So there's the self-violence, the self-hate. And it's beginning to consume him. So he's turning into the shadow himself.
Yes.
And there's like, they can't stop him. They're trying to stop him. The whole team is trying to stop what's happening. And it's not until Yelena's able to get through and hold him. And it's that compassion and gentleness that works. It's only that works for him in that moment. And that's what releases him. And he's able to come back out.
That moment reminded me of something Brené Brown, a sociologist, researcher, author, says. She talks about shame can't survive, like shame thrives in the dark.
Yes.
And if you expose it to light, and particularly the light of a compassionate other, that's when it starts to break. And that moment when Yelena the darkness has almost taken over our lighter Bob, right? Like his attitude towards his shadow of trying to demolish it is just creating more and more darkness within himself. It's just taking over. Yet she is able to come in and embrace him even in that moment. And that's where things start to change, and that's where things slow down. It was beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
And in stories, in like fairy tales, film, you can look at the main characters as different aspects of the same psyche.
Yes.
And so we can look at Yelena being I'll get into the mother archetype in a second too. Because I think there's a few in the movies we're going to be looking at. But the idea of the parent that is gentle and compassionate and inviting that kind of energy into that space where you have to go somewhere really scary. Yeah, beautiful. Any other thoughts on Thunderbolts that you had?
No, I think we really covered. I think just the thing that really stuck with me about Thunderbolts is the compassion, the attitude of compassion and even accepting grief. I see in Yelena's actions, and those two things are the things that allow the integration of and prevent the taking over of this shadow self, which in this particular example had some dangerous qualities, powerful,
right?
Depicted, I think, sometimes as bad, but absolutely dangerous if left without the balance of our good Bob.
Let's go into the substance then.
Yes, let's.
God, I love this movie. So good. Won a lot of awards. It's with Demi Moore, who plays Sparkle, and then Margaret Qualley, who plays Sue. It's directed by Coralie Fargeat, and it's she has spoken about the film as the genre of it as genre film, which is like a generic. She doesn't see it as body horror, which is something that it's been categorized as, or sci-fi. It's kind of encompassing all of those things and leaves room for more.
I see. Okay.
So I love it, and I think this genre, horror, science fiction, speculative fiction, really gives us a fun way to approach meaningful topics. I think these genres do it the best, in my opinion. So I'm going to start with, if I may just get right into one of my favorite quotes from the movie, which is actually spoken by, from The Substance, when she calls the substance, the voice on the other line. This is after she's already taken the substance. There's been the osmosis, like the separation between her and Sparkle and Sue. And Sue is really just taken over. And Sparkle isn't doing much. It doesn't have control.
Right.
She's trying to get control. She's not. So she calls the substance, the number, to complain. Put in a little customer service, call the customer service desk, hey, what's going on? Can I get a refund, essentially? And the way she speaks about Sue is very, very other. Very, this is not her.
Right. Totally rejecting.
Totally rejecting. Yeah. And the substance replies and says, remember, there is no she and you. You are one. Respect the balance and you won't have any more inconveniences. So this is our cautionary tale of integration failing and the shadow kind of taking over. Yes. And winning in this. And there's no integration. There's no balance. This is complete kind of surrender to it in a way that is not helpful for self-growth.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. That when we're looking at the way Elizabeth and Sue relate to their other selves, right, that other part of them, the relationship, the attitude towards the relationship takes a few different turns, but fails to accept responsibility for the other, right? There's this power struggle that you talk about of, okay, I need to force this person. Then there's this desire to tamp down and eliminate. I want to get rid of her. And later on we find when Elizabeth is considering this destruction is going so far, maybe I can stop this right here and eliminate Sue. She is aware that part of her will be gone. And so we're finding all of these very normal, very common ways in which people attempt to relate to their shadow, but ineffectively.
Yeah. Someone's awake.
Yeah. So, there's it's that refusal to accept responsibility for the other that both sides are engaging in. Elizabeth or Sparkle, right? She doesn't want to accept responsibility for Sue's actions, although Sue is a part of her. It's a complaining about Sue. And when she can't take responsibility, Sue continues to run wild. There's not enough ego strength within Elizabeth to break and take experience some of the grief and take some of the responsibility for Sue's actions. If she could relate to Sue differently, we may have seen this play differently. But in that moment, she has to stay clean of those terrible, evil actions, right, that she thinks Sue is committing, although we know that is her.
It is her. We know that as the audience.
Right.
Right. They can't see that for themselves.
Right.
There's a quote by Lisa Marciano in the book Motherhood, which we love. So Lisa is a she's a psychoanalyst.
Yeah, she's a Jungian analyst.
Yeah, okay. We love her.
Yes, we do. Author, podcaster.
Yes. Motherhood, great book. So in that book, she says, wholeness requires that we consciously relate to shadow. We cannot split off the objectionable parts of ourselves without sacrificing growth and consciousness. Increased self-knowledge is perhaps the greatest boon you receive after an encounter with your shadow. This in turn brings with it greater authenticity and substance.
Yes.
How can I be substantial if I fail to cast a shadow? Ask you. I must have a dark side also if I am to be whole.
Yes.
That's what Jung says.
Yes.
How can I be substantial if I fail to cast a shadow? I must have a dark side also if I am to be whole. I love this. We're talking about non-duality here a little bit. We're talking about embracing the gray, embracing the ugly, you know, and that again, back to like Nietzsche's story of the metamorphosis, the different stages, letting go of the idea of what good and right is from what the world has given you, and having the discernment and wisdom to operate in the world with those things on your own term, making those decisions for yourself in a sense of play and love and respect for others and for all parts of yourself.
Absolutely.
And I love the word substance is brought up here. It brings with it greater authenticity and substance. And so she's looking for substance. I love that the product is called The Substance. Yes. It's so great.
And in a way, she is already so substantial in her fame, right? We talk, when you reference substance, in one level, we're thinking about like richness, like something like important and valuable. But at another level, she has a substantial persona in her fame, which I think really contributes to how dark that shadow figure can be for her. The more substantial, right, that persona is,
yes,
the darker the shadow maybe.
Yeah. Because the chasm
absolutely
is larger. Huge. It's huge. Huge crevasse separating them, parts of the psyche apart. Yeah.
Yes. I want to share a quote by Carl Jung. He says, "Everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is. At all counts, it forms an unconscious snag thwarting out the most well-meant intentions." And I think that points to exactly what we're talking about. Yeah. That huge chasm. Because of the fame and the persona, there wasn't room for integration into the conscious life if she were to maintain everything that she had there. If it were to go unchanged. And so we see this black, dense, like heavy shadow figure, destructive, emerge.
Yeah. Destructive.
Yeah.
Big spoiler alert. So they literally become this monster at the end.
Absolutely.
And they are still chasing vanity at the end. As like parts of her body, the body horror is really kicking in at this last scene, and they're like, the goo is crawling towards the star. The persona.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I want to talk about vanity a little bit, because personally for me, this is one of my shadow things that I work on, which is, how do I embrace my own shame around vanity and my religious hangups about it, and my social hangups about wanting to look good, to feel good, to be pretty, and how do I embrace it, and also, how do I integrate it? That's always kind of been like one of the big struggles for me. And vanity looks like a lot of things. It's not just like, I want my skin to be beautiful, or I want to be a certain size. It could be like the fear of going into exploring acting as a fun activity to do, because I'm being seen. How dare you want to be seen? So that kind of vanity too. How dare you want to be seen? And the world gives us so many messages, right? Like, especially the younger generation that is like, I think about like Gen Z, how just like free and self-loving they are about these things.
They sure seem that way, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, I know that it's that's very surface level too, and that there is a lot of judgment if you're not being free, right? So it's like there's double standards,
right?
Yeah,
right.
But I don't want to speak on behalf of that generation. I'll stop there. Definitely don't take my word for that. But I do have a teenager, and so I get a little bit of insights from them, from their take on it. But there is something to learn there, and that is like what I've learned from them is the freeness to be authentic, your authentic self, and to be seen, and not be ashamed of being seen. And it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And for me, it's about like reclaiming that and saying, I want to make art to be seen. And then like being comfortable with that. Like, and that is like such a cringy feeling for me that I definitely have to fake. I fake saying it. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing art because I want to be seen. I'm so comfortable with that. I'm not comfortable with that. But it is a truth that I have to bring to my consciousness and embrace it and not be so self-negating about, so self-effacing about. Does that make sense?
It does. And as a witness to your process with acting, for example, I'll tell you, I can see the gears shifting when you first started class. Let me know if I'm remembering correctly, but I believe you told me, oh, this is just for fun.
Yeah.
I have no plans of ever doing any performing. I don't plan on auditioning for things
Wow, I said that?
You did.
Oh, wow.
Or
I believe it.
I'm probably expanding on it.
Sure.
But it was very much, this is just for fun. This is just for fun.
Yes.
And more recently, I hear you talk about the ways in which you're preparing to, I'm getting this equipment so that I can have what I need for when I do tapes and when I do auditions. And so just being able to see you accept that desire for it to be maybe something that absolutely is fun, but has a certain level of seriousness to it, or like, I actually want, being able to want something out of it.
Yeah. Acceptance.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For myself. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think approaching the shadow works that way, like where you're still resisting at first, and it takes time to get there. It really takes time to get to a place where you can befriend it.
Yes.
And, call on Sue and be like, they don't even get there. So Sparkle and Sue never get there. This is a cautionary tale of because it can be one of the hardest things to do, especially if the messaging you got as a child was to stay small, was to shrink yourself, or to pursue. I have a lot of religious hangups, so those aren't godly things. Don't approach that world. That's that doesn't bring honor and glory to God. It's self-promoting. And then also being a certain age and thinking, this is so silly for me at this point in my life to come on. That's so absurd. You're being absurd and silly and childish. But now that I feel like I'm in it, embracing it, accepting it, having fun auditioning, not really following the bliss. My priority is following my bliss, like Joseph Campbell says. That is, which took a long process to get there, but now it's a really fun, playful thing, and it is easier to do. But my goodness, it took me years, and I could see how easy it is to get into the place like Sparkle and Sue where you just kind of avoid it.
Right.
You never get there.
It feels like the risk is too high.
Yeah, the risk is too high. The shame is too deep.
Yes.
The shame is too too deep. Yeah. And I think vanity is a huge part as women, how the world perceives us, how we have to be cute and pretty, and we can't be silly and gross ever.
No.
Which is why I love the movie. I love that the movie is so gross.
It's gross.
So much. Because it might mean tapping into part of you that you think is a little gross.
Yeah.
Or that you won't be perceived the same way anymore. Right. You're going to turn off some people.
Yes. And maybe is a little gross.
Yeah.
And allowing that to
I want to be
come
gross.
to the light, right? Allowing that to be and accept it. Oh, then there's so much more room.
Yeah.
Right? Then we're talking about that right relationship.
Yes.
With the shadow. Like, I no longer need to cover it up. I no longer need to beat it down. I no longer need to reject it totally.
Right. The reclaiming.
But if I can let it be and accept that. Ooh.
Yeah. Yes. This is bringing me to Mickey 17 before we get there.
Yes.
For any other notes you have on the substance?
No.
Okay. Mickey 17. This is with Robert Pattinson, who plays Mickey, Mark Ruffalo, who's Kenneth, and Toni Collette, who plays Ilfa. It's directed by Bong Joon-ho, who's also known for Parasite, Snowpiercer, and The Host. This is a sci-fi genre based on a 2022 novel called Mickey 7 by Edward Ashton. I feel I don't know anyone who's talking about this movie. I don't know, but I think it's so great and weird and wacky.
Fun.
It's fun.
What a fun film. Yeah.
Big fan of Robert Pattinson as well. And so our kind of a little bit of the plot, I guess, without saying too much about it. They're on a spaceship to colonize another planet. And our protagonist, Mickey 17, has basically signed a contract essentially where he is an expendable person on the ship, used for vaccinations or anything they need, testing,
exploring dangerous whatever.
Taking all the risks.
Yes.
And they have a cloning machine, they call it the printer, and they basically make copies of him every time he dies.
Yes.
So Mickey 17 is iteration 17 of Mickey. This is his 17th version. He has died 17 times up until this point, or 16 up until this point. And at some point, everybody thinks he dies, so they print out another Mickey, but Mickey 17 is still alive. So he comes back and he encounters Mickey 18. Mickey 17 is a people pleaser. He didn't even think twice about signing over his agency, his life, right? He's just like, okay, this is what he needs. And he finds pride in like the fact that because of my sacrifice, we have the vaccine that allows us to breathe the air on this planet. That's his great contribution. Mickey 18, however, is very different. He does what he wants to do. He's kind of the bad boy. He's kind of a trickster energy kind of person. He's kind of like fuck the system kind of person. He does his own thing. Very different than Mickey 17.
Yes.
And Mickey 17 resents Mickey 18 for some obvious reasons, like his partner on the ship is now with both of them. Yeah. And she has been with every iteration of Mickey.
Yes.
Which is interesting. So I want to start with this quote from Joseph Campbell in Pathways to Bliss. He says, among the archetypes, the first to turn threatening is the shadow. That's what you're holding down. And holding that down has made you capable of living the life that the society wills you to live. Holding down the shadow makes you capable of living the life society wills you to live. So Mickey 17, he's expendable, and he is not paying attention to Mickey 18, who we're going to call the shadow here.
Yes.
I think it's pretty evident that he's the shadow.
Yes.
And the reason why we say that is because he is the part of Mickey that he doesn't like. Mickey 17, our main guy, that he finds
Threatening.
So threatening.
Yes.
Because he's everything he's not.
Yes.
He's deciphering and seeing the triggers that people evoke in you. It's a great little way to kind of figure something out.
Right. He's everything he's not, and he's everything he's not supposed to be.
Yes.
If he's to continue to fulfill his role.
Right.
As an expendable, which he has seemingly in the 17th version come to have maybe complicated feelings about.
Yeah.
But generally taking a martyr kind of attitude towards of like, this is who I'm meant to be. This is how I contribute to this society.
And this is what the society wants from him.
Right.
This is all they want from him.
This is required of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're really lucky because Mickey 17 is very complacent.
Absolutely.
So great.
Like, okay.
Doing his job.
Yes.
He's in it.
Convenient for them.
Yes. And then Nasha, the lover, the girlfriend, she is the person who loves him unconditionally. So kind of like Yelena in Thunderbolts, these are kind of our mother archetypes, I would say. The mother archetype is a symbol, a recurring motif throughout storytelling, fairy tales or whatnot, that have capacity to be incredibly fierce.
Yes.
And also incredibly compassionate.
Yes.
And Nasha is a great example of both.
Yes.
So is Yelena. She's a badass.
Absolutely.
She can fight, but she has so much range for compassion and gentleness. Same thing with Nasha. Nasha, like almost, saws off a guy's head to protect Mickey, But this is when the mother archetype is the healthiest and the best. She is a non-dualistic approach of both things, of the fierceness, the fierce protector, and also compassionate, of compassion and grace. So I have a quote from from Mickey 17. He says, Nasha, she's the only one who's always been there for me. She's always loved me, every me, even him, the me I don't understand at all.
The one that is so far out of my consciousness that doesn't even register as me.
Right. No, I love that. He doesn't even see him as himself, and he cannot understand it at all.
She really represents, and this goes back to the first film that we discussed, it's like this ability to accept, right, to be the one, because that culture's not going to accept Mickey 18 if he continues to behave the way he is.
Correct.
Right. He'll not only be shunned by the 17 version of him, but also by their world. But there is something in him that she sees, and that is really beautiful. That compassionate approach, that willingness to relate to something that might be a little spiky.
Yeah.
But you can see the value. She can see the value.
She can.
She can experience the life. I mean, there's so much life. Mickey 17 is passive. There's the life force within him, while there is muted. Nowhere near. Muted. I love that.
Yeah.
Nowhere near the amount of life force that we get with Mickey 18. He might scare us because we don't know what he's capable of or what he could do.
Right.
But that's part of that immense amount of energy that he contains.
I love that you're saying life force, because the shadow is where we find vitality. Absolutely. And Mickey 18 doesn't like 17 either. He thinks he's a pushover.
Yeah. He doesn't respect him.
Doesn't have any respect for him, for his lack of agency, for his lack of control over his situation. And Mickey 18 refuses to be part of the system and do what 17 has to do for himself, right? And so it's a great relationship. At the end, so we know that integration at the end of this is accomplished. And I would say it's when I noticed it, it's in the dream sequence. So this is right at the end of the movie. Mickey 18 sacrifices himself to save everyone.
Yes.
And so here we go. Our person we don't like, who wants to rebel against the system, who we find to be self-serving, we think, with the way, because we're seeing him through Mickey 17's, lens, his eye. He's so self-serving. How could he be that way. But he ends up making the ultimate sacrifice at the end, which is who he was all along. And it just took 17 that to really see that he's not all bad.
Right.
You know?
That there is redemption.
There is redemption there.
Yeah.
So after that's done, there's kind of order is restored. And one night Mickey has this dream of Ilfa being alive, who was our antagonist, along with Kenneth, played by Mark Ruffalo. So she's alive, and she's bringing Kenneth back with the printer. Mm-hmm. And he remembers that, wait, she's dead. She's not. She took her own life. And so blood starts to pour down, and it's just a really scary scene for him. And he says, you're hearing his thoughts. He says, ever since I was a kid, I've had scary dreams. This time I wasn't scared. I just thought to myself, what would 18 do? And then he says, fuck off. Mm-hmm. And he wakes up from the dream, and he realizes the printer needs to be destroyed. He works with Nasha to destroy the printer.
And that's that moment of integration, right?
Yes.
Like where
he calls on 18.
Yes.
He's like, what would you do, my shadow? Yeah. Like what?
And then he does it.
And
he has the energy to do it.
And then he has the energy to do the vitality, the force. And that there's something about that part to what you're saying here too, about if we feel unmotivated in life, maybe even a little depressed, maybe a little just bored with it, and really the life is in uncovering the shadow.
I absolutely agree. Mm-hmm. And working with many, not all, but many of my clients who struggle with depression, particularly those in their 30s and 40s, I often see a refusal to, like, it's so scary to access some unappetizing traits. Even their anger, even admitting anger, right, would bring about some sort of energy, some sort of life force that could shift things. And so to your point, I think that being able to approach and access that shadow is the key. I mean, that's the paradox of the shadow, right? Yeah. It's got the potential for destruction, but it also can be redeemer. There's a great quote by Liz Greene, who's a Jungian analyst and astrologer. And she says, the shadow is both the awful thing that needs redemption and the suffering redeemer who can provide it.
Yes.
And I think Mickey 18 is the perfect personification of what she's talking about.
Absolutely. That's so good. That's such a good quote. The shadow is good.
The shadow is good.
It takes the shadow to know how to deal with shadowy things. Mm-hmm. The wild, untamed side of our personality has access to the instinctual knowledge that is needed in a crisis. That's by Lisa Marciano. She also says, instead of living the falsehoods we created for ourselves in the process of adapting to parental and cultural expectations, we begin living our truth that we somehow lost touch with along the way. I love that. I love that it is a key to unlocking with how to deal with difficult situations. So looking back at Mickey again, he has to do something again, like we were just talking about, that he wouldn't normally do, that wouldn't fit, his notions of what,
who he is.
Yeah, who he is, how he wants to be
persona.
perceived. Right. But he's dealing with a very shadowy circumstance. He starts to see the system for what it is. It's not working for him. He finally realizes his self-worth and that, okay, maybe he deserves to live.
Yeah. I love how they showed that taking responsibility for your own shadow, that ability to integrate your own shadow, as Mickey does, saves our society from it getting piled on to this big cultural shadow that ends up like being really destructive in the world. So we can, by being able to accept those parts of ourselves, we can avoid contributing to more and more of the darkness that we don't want to see in our cultures, if we can approach that in ourselves. And I think that was beautiful, because at the end of the movie, now you might have to help me remember, he destroys that printer And now we are in a new age in this society, and things seem to be more hopeful, more compassionate.
Yep.
Justice, human rights,
Yes.
all start to become more and more valued after the work of being able to integrate the shadow, doing the wrong thing, daring to step outside of the bounds.
So society benefits.
I think society benefits.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Because if we could be more compassionate with ourselves, all parts of ourselves, the ones we want to die, to stuff down, like Yelena says, jokingly at the beginning,
Yeah.
then we learn how to be compassionate towards others. And yes, society will benefit if we could accept each other. Imagine the climate today with acceptance, if we could accept each other and see each other as kind of part of the whole.
Right. And not so different.
And not so different.
Not so different. Yeah.
Absolutely. Next I have is how to excavate the unconscious. Just talking a little bit about some of the tools we've come across. What comes to mind for you?
You know, I think I'm such a reader, so always like books.
I didn't even put that down on my list. I didn't even think about that, but that's huge.
So huge. I think learning about, just getting familiar
with the concepts.
And oftentimes, like we're talking about film today, but books that are there to guide us in this work can be so helpful. So we can put a couple different recommended books that we've had in like show notes or something.
That'd be great. Yes.
Okay.
I know Pathways to Bliss came up. That's from Joseph Campbell.
Yes.
We read Motherhood by Lisa Marchiano. That helped us a lot too.
She's got another great one called The Vital Spark,
Awesome.
which is about integrating shadow energy, not necessarily through the motherhood lens, which is fantastic. Connie Zweig has some great books about shadow.
Okay.
Romancing the Shadow is one of my favorites of hers, so we can share those.
I love applying things.
Yes.
So I love a good workbook.
Yes.
The Artist's Way is one of the books I return to time and time again. Always. I've been through it 4 times maybe. But there are assignments you have to do along the way. There's daily pages you have to write. So you're journaling for 12 weeks straight. In a free association kind of way, just stream of conscious, just getting ideas down and seeing what comes up. That's a beautiful gift. So just to note, also journaling as a way, but not in it has to be in a really relaxed, like just try to write faster than you can think, and don't worry about grammar. Don't worry about perfect handwriting. Don't worry about somebody reading it. Burn it after if you want. Because what will come to the surface will come to the surface. It'll help you get there.
Right.
You don't have to revisit it. It'll be accessible to you. Yeah. And then go back and read some of the things and see if there's any patterns of like, wow, I'm speaking really negatively to myself about this thing. I really got to get over this one thing. I'm really stuck on this thing. And I went back to my journals from a year ago, and I said like, I think if I would do anything, I would take a sabbatical. And here I am in the middle of my sabbatical, or at the end of my sabbatical for myself, which has been just so wonderful for kind of refocusing. And also I've looked back and seen like, I would like to take an acting class, and that little whisper, those things come up in the journaling and the self-reflection and reading a book and thinking, just becoming more aware of like, oh, I have that thought that I'm not really pulling out of, the ether. Like I'm just letting it stay there. I'm kind of avoiding it. I'm not saying it out loud. Why am I not saying it out loud? That's interesting, And
that technique that you talk about of trying to essentially write faster that you can think.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying is the hack, essentially, to tap into the unconscious.
Yes, which I learned in acting school, by the way. It's
amazing. Look at that.
Yeah. When you're doing personalization or trying to get the character to integrate with you, that's an exercise where you take a few lines from the story that you're reading, and then you just write what comes to mind, whatever comes to mind, no judgment, and you create this internalized story of that. So that's a great tool that can be applied that I've used just in journaling and day to day, is just like not having any expectations to meet when I'm sitting to write, and letting it look ugly and letting it be ugly and messy, and seeing what comes to the surface.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
It's hard to do sometimes.
It is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Getting gross. We're getting gross here.
Of course. That's what we want.
That's what we want. Integrate through creativity. So this is about channeling your feelings into creative outlets like art, acting, writing, music. Art is so great. It's so powerful.
Absolutely.
And if you're not comfortable there, going to a museum, going to an art museum, and like seeing what pieces of art really, I don't know, just resonate with you. Why does that seem so interesting to you? I went to DC about a year and a half ago. I got to go to the museum. It's like a National Women's Museum. And there was this artist named Suchitra Matai, and she's Guyanese. And so she talks a lot about like the fracture of being, having history of being from an area that has a history of colonialism. And so like these two worlds you're living in. And there was an image of these two girls, and then underneath the ground, their braids are really long, because you're seeing the back of them and their braids, and then the braids are connected underground. And so I think about how in the unconscious, it's where we can connect all parts of ourself. It's like the space for reconciliation.
Yes.
With all aspects that we feel are fractured and are separated. It doesn't have to be that analytical, it could just be like, that's really beautiful, and just let it simmer. And I think the next thing I'll get into is dreams, because a lot of the things we are consuming in our waking life can appear in our dreams, and the things we're feeling can appear in our dreams. So we've had some fun playing around with dream analysis.
We have, yes.
Yeah, yeah. I think we both like own a symbol book. I've gotten it from you, and it's really fun to kind of, if you can remember them.
Yeah.
And if they leave a little like weird feeling in the morning, looking up some of the motifs and symbols, and like I was having dreams about toads.
About toads?
Yes, toads.
Okay.
During this time of like doing integration work for me, excavating the shadow. And toads are amphibious. They live in the land and in the water, and the water is a symbol of the unconsciousness. So there was. The toads in my dream were alarms. So I was trying to be sneaky, not set off the toad alarms, and I failed, and they started to go off, which is interesting, because I think that to me meant like the fear of waking up the world, of being seen and heard, being called out for. How dare I?
And to get out of control at any moment.
Yes, yes. Well, how dare I be my authentic self?
Right.
How dare I, dare to be seen? And also just the risk that I was feeling at the time around integrating my shadow self, the amphibious, part of us that can live in that wants to live in both worlds, that we don't allow. Any other tools or ideas on excavating?
I think always a great idea, if accessible to work with a professional in these things. They're just a third party perspective can help us see some of the things that we're blind to.
They can help you develop the skill too.
And develop these skills of knowing, or of being able to dive into those waters that you referenced. So always a great option.
Yeah. Hopefully having a great friend.
The people who are close to you probably have a sense of your shadow.
Oh, yes.
Your relationship and the intimacy that you share with them might help you determine whether or not it's safe enough to seek their feedback in this journey. But often those that are close to you, they know. They can see it. They experience the projection. They experience it in ways that we protect ourselves from, for good reason, but we tend to.
Yeah. And if we're lucky enough that they're gentle and compassionate about it,
Right.
we can lean on them for some insights and have those conversations. Good. Yes. Well, that concludes our episode of The Shadow.
And next we have Hero's Journey, I believe.
Hero's Journey.
Amazing. I can't wait.
Thank you so much for talking with me today.
Of course.